Throughout 2023, I've put 4 deep dive topics on this channel, covering decoys, velocity, fanning, and grunts. With each one, you've kept me honest by leaving a slew of comments, both supporting and correcting me. This video is a compilation of those 4 deep dives, and at the end of each one, I've added a section where I review and respond to the community's comments. My goal is to provide you objective, useful information, and from time to time, I'm gonna get something wrong. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big. Use the timestamps to jump around to the stuff you want to hear. This is also a great starting point for anyone new to the channel. It gets you caught up on my deep dive research and brings to light the corrected errors. Enjoy, and I'll see you in 2024. Like most players, I thought decoys were almost pointless. When I saw someone break a lantern over a kennel with one, my curiosity was piqued. Did you just break that with a decoy? Oh, I didn't know you could do that! What else am I missing? A lot. I was missing a lot. This is what I knew about decoys, and this is what I found. Did you know you can use them to ignite oil spills or break green barrels? Decoys have a wide range of uses, many of which I haven't seen discussed anywhere. Well, now they're here in this comprehensive guide to decoys. I've actually made an infographic summarizing all the details in this video. If you want it, I've posted it in the Hunt Lab Discord, link in the description. Let's get into it. What are decoys? Well, there are 2 kinds of decoys, normal decoys and blank fire decoys. They're tools that let you deceive enemy hunters. Normal ones just make the sound of a footprint wherever you throw it. And blank fire ones make the sound of a gunshot. But you can leverage these to deceive enemy hunters, manipulate AI, and interact or break various things in the world, like explosive barrels or barred doors. Normal decoys are going to have 12 uses, and you can throw them up to 27 meters in an arc. Their main uses are imitating footstep sounds when thrown and breaking world objects, like green barrels or lanterns. Blank fire decoys have 6 uses, and they fly in a 19-meter arc. On impact, they make a gunshot noise and ignite certain objects, like oil or explosive barrels. Anything that a normal decoy can break, blanks can do too, just louder. Normal decoys only cost $6 hunt, so if you have an open tool slot, there's really no reason not to bring them, because there are quite a few times where they will come in handy. Blank fire decoys are $45. You're gonna find the most benefit from decoys when playing solo than in a group. I've definitely had some use using them in trios and duos, but sometimes I found myself distracted by looking for opportunities to use them rather than supporting my team in the fight. So use at your own discretion. Let's start with sound traps. You know, crows, kennels, and horses. You can alert sound traps with either kind of decoy. Just throw a decoy near it and it'll go off. This can be nice when you're sneaking around a compound and trying to throw off other hunters on where your actual location is. This shifts their attention to the sound trap and also provides good noise cover to cover up your footsteps while you're sneaking. For kennels, you can either just throw it nearby to alert the kennel, or hit the lantern on top to destroy the animals. With birds, a nice touch is that you can choose the direction you want them to fly. Just throw the decoy opposite the direction you want them to move, because they're going to fly away from the noise you make. You can use any of these, but I find horses and kennels to be most reliable, because those are the things people more often accidentally trigger while they're sneaking around a compound. Not only can you use decoys for distractions, you can also use it for PvP purposes. This section is where the 2 decoys differentiate the most. Decoy blanks have special interactions with yellow barrels, red barrels, and oil. When you throw it at oil, it actually ignites it. So keep a lookout for these oil patches. They're all over, and they can be used to either block vision, add some covering noise, or block a pathway from a hunter trying to approach you. The red and yellow barrels surprised me. Unlike when you hit them with a bullet, when you land a blank fire decoy on them, they instantly explode. Because you don't make noise when you throw a decoy, no one knows where you are when you set it off. This means they're great to use for noise cover, or if you happen to see someone hiding near one, you can get an easy takedown. Now, the rest of these can be done with either normal decoys or the blank fire ones. Personally, I think the most important discovery I made was that regular decoys will break green barrels, which is nice because the hive swarm that comes out of them has such a massive range. It's a great way to catch someone off guard and start a fight on the right foot. Just make sure you're not too close when you hit it. Lanterns are nice because they're often hiding over a barrel or over an oil patch, so your normal decoys still have an opportunity to light up some of those. Decoys are great options for disarming traps. Not only is it definitely going to get the enemy's attention, but they're not actually going to know where you are, so you might be able to bait them into checking on their trap and then attacking them while they're on their way over. Good luck getting use out of this one, but apparently all fused consumables can be set off by hitting them with a decoy. This applies to things like dynamite, frags, and sticky bombs. You can actually take out hunters with decoys. They do 20 damage when you do a direct hit, but their arc is so slow when you throw them that it's pretty hard to actually make that hit. So I can't say it's a good strategy, but boy is it a great meme. Probably the easiest way to set this up would be to take a Sparks pistol with poison ammo, and after shooting them with the sparks, follow up by lobbing a hail of decoys at them. Now let's look at some things in the environment like windows and doors and hanging chains. First of all, you can throw normal decoys on any surface to imitate the sound of a footstep. And you can even cheat this to get 2 footsteps out of it if you hit a wall. If you hit the wall, it'll make a noise on the wall, and then again when it impacts with the ground. Now, if you're going to throw multiple decoys, I'd encourage you not to be too rhythmic about it, to try and make it more organic to a sneaking movement. I find this more effective when you have multiple levels that you can throw the decoy on. Let's say you're in Port Rica and you can throw it down in the mud to make people think you're on a level lower than you are. Or another use is you might be able to throw it on the second story of a barn, so people think they have someone in their building above them, which might pull some of their attention away from you sneaking around the outside. Beyond this, you can also use decoys to help you infiltrate. You can unlock barred doors. Just aim at the crossbar, and the door opens quickly and silently. This can be used when infiltrating compounds. Just find a window to peek through, and throw the decoy at the bar from the window. Many people know you can shoot these, but shooting makes noise, and decoys don't. And when you're trying to stealth around, well, obviously, less noise is better. Now, when sieging a compound, you can use decoys to break out windows. The 2 best applications for this would be increasing the visibility into the building without giving away your location, or creating more breaching opportunities. Because now, especially if you have Lightfoot, you can jump in a window without detection, rather than breaking the glass as you go in. You know those big, heavy metal gates that block the entrances to some compounds? Well, if one is open, you can hit it with decoy and it'll slam shut. If you're not a fan of music, I got good news for you. The gramophones and pianos, if they're set to be playing, you can shut them off by hitting them with the decoy. Unlike that, the metal doors that you crank open, normally you can shoot the handle to have them closed, and I was really hoping decoys would let you do that too. Unfortunately, that is not the case. The last discovery I found in this area was actually light bulbs, the ones that turn on when you have a generator on. If you're on a night map and there's too much light in the compound while you're trying to move around, you can use the decoys to take out the light bulbs and reduce the light in the area. This could help you get away with movement you might not otherwise make. Most of the other objects in this category just aren't even worth bothering with. Decoys don't make meaningful sounds when you use them on hanging chains or cans or glass on the floor. And when you throw them at a stick, the stick doesn't even break. Those sticks are more durable than the beams blocking the doors. Alright, on to monsters. You can use decoys to distract or direct AI monsters. If you throw one near a monster, it'll go into an alert state and start looking around the area. Furthermore, if you hit one, it'll go into an aggressive state and broaden its search area in a faster pattern. This is useful if there are other hunters trying to sneak around. The monster could potentially snuff them out and force them to either deal with it and make noise, or have to run and reposition. This is a pretty niche use, but it's there. The ones that are most helpful to do this with would be immolators and hives, mainly because after they've been agitated, their aggro ranges are so big. They can be used to guard a section of the compound until someone chooses to take them out. Another good use case is actually water devils. If there was one blocking a crossing, you can throw a decoy in the water and it'll swim to it, giving you and your allies a moment to cross without taking damage or having to kill it. If you're someone who just likes making a mess, then this one's for you. You can use decoys to interact with world objects, like all the ones you see scattered around on Quick Play. You can also knock the guns out of saddlebags. Completely useless, but chaotic. There are 4 traits that interact with decoys: Decoy Supply, Pitcher, Frontiersman, and Whispersmith. Decoy Supply is almost a necessity. When you have it, whenever you take ammo from the ammo supply boxes, you'll also get a resupply on your decoys. Take note that this won't happen when taking ammo from special ammo boxes, and if your ammo is full but your decoys aren't, you can't open the ammo supply box, so you'll have to let off a round first. Pitcher increases the throw range of your decoys. This gives you more opportunity to throw a decoy in an advantageous location. The range of your normal decoys improved from 27 to 40 meters, and blank decoys from 19 to 24. I wouldn't take Pitcher just for this, but it's already pretty good with your consumables, so it definitely gives you another reason to consider it. Now, Frontiersman is something you should probably pass on if you're getting it for the decoys. It gives you 1 extra decoy for each kind. Because you already get so many decoys with each tool, this is a very minor benefit. I'd say skip it. Then the last trait is Whispersmith. While this doesn't directly impact your decoys, it does reduce the noise you make when swapping items. So if you are switching between the decoys and a gun in a stealthy situation, you're going to make less noise in that process. Did I miss something about decoys? Or what's your favorite way to use them? Let me know in the comments. It's also good to know that when decoys hit a door, it makes a loud noise. Yes, so if you do throw a decoy, there is a distinct thud when it interacts with the door. Here's something I think you missed. This list got long, so I'll have some numbers. 1, if you have a decoy resupply, you can get decoys from deployable ammo boxes, but you only get 6 and 3 instead of 12 and 6. Oh, okay. So if you have the decoy resupply trait, you can also get your decoys refreshed when you use the item, the portable ammo box item. Blanks won't go off if used in water. You can still silently confuse water devils. I actually like doing this a lot with my blanks. And I think I showed it in the video, is that you can distract... No, I made a short on it. You can distract water devils with decoys. It's a great way to clear the path when you're trying to get around the map. Decoys thrown at doors will make the sound melee... Oh, will make the melee damage sound. And it's probably one of the best ways to make the enemy think you're at the door, but it won't make the hunter melee sound. So it'll sound like you have silent killer. Oh, gotcha. So when you throw a regular decoy at a door, it will make a thud, like you just hit it with a melee, but it's not going to make the grunt. 41 upvotes. Recently, I started my dive into decoys after a teammate throw one accidentally successfully distract an enemy player for a few seconds. They're great, like you've said, but I did find one noteworthy con to them. When you are replenishing them from toolboxes and looting hunter corpses, it often replenishes your decoy supply rather than give you something actually useful, like a use of your first aid kit or a consumable. Now, I think the first thing to note here is I believe when you are looting or using toolboxes, those are always going to favor giving you tools over consumables. So if you've thrown one decoy, you'll feel that you're a little bit screwed over. And I think that's a very important thing to be aware of when you're throwing your decoys. Decoys are extremely useful in extended boss lair sieges. I tricked a few enemies into thinking I was crouched on the opposite side of them, where I was actually pushing from, and it made them waste several explosives trying to kill me in the wrong spot. A big tip for PvP setting when you use decoys is you can use them to open blinds. And the most important thing you can throw a decoy at is a wall, making one footstep noise, and then another when it hits the ground. I did not know you could open blinds. That's cool. The decoy video was all pretty straightforward, so there were less controversial opinions in the comments than some of the other ones. So we're going to move ahead and look into the velocity video. Bullet velocity controls the time between when you take a shot and the impact. This varies greatly between weapons. Some guns make this delay negligible, like the Lebel with Spitzer ammo. Others are a little slower. This is why you can't hit a moving target. If hunters always stood still, this wouldn't be an issue. But that's not the case. If you've ever missed a shot because of a moving target, you're in the right spot. Get ready to master bullet velocity. By the end of this video, you'll be leading your shots, dodging bullets, and making better weapon choices for the deadliest loadouts. What is bullet velocity, and why does it matter? A weapon's velocity controls how fast a bullet moves from you to your target. The further away the target is, the longer it takes the bullet to get there. If the target moves before the bullet arrives, then you'll miss. The trick is to lead the target to get the shot. The hard part is, every gun has a different velocity. From 60 meters per second on the bomb lance, and the highest velocity in the game at 850 on the Lebel with Spitzer ammo. I put together a comprehensive velocity infographic along with a Google Sheet containing my research. Use the spreadsheet to search and sort all guns with the exception of shotguns by velocity, variation, ammo type, and more. Both the infographic and the spreadsheet can be found in my Discord. If you plan on hitting your shots, you must consider how fast and what direction your target is moving, how far away they are from you, and how fast your bullet travels. Then, instead of firing at your target, fire where they will be when the bullet gets to them. This is leading your target. Guns with slower bullet velocity require you to lead your targets more. This makes it more difficult since not only do you have to shoot sooner ahead of time, but your opponent also has more time to change their movement direction. Distances in Hunt approximate real-world values. So, when talking about these values, you can approximate them to a hunter's height. I calculated a hunter's move speed. Crouching came in at about 1.25 meters per second, walking at 3, and running around 5. Having a general idea of what this distance looks like can help you line up your shots. For example, if you're using a spark silencer and shooting at a hunter running at 100 meters away, you'll need to aim about 1.7 meters ahead of them. Now, how do you tell how far away someone is? Credit to Cornf for this brilliant solution, the ping marker. It's always the same size on your screen, so you can use that relative to a hunter's height to determine the distance. Just be careful, because if you're aiming down iron sights or in a scope, then your screen zooms in, which changes the ratio of the ping marker to the hunter. If you're 25 meters away and you ping at their feet, it lines up with their hips. And if you're zoomed in with iron sights, the marker is as high as their knees. At 50 meters, it lines up with their head normally, or their hips if you're aiming down iron sights. At 100 meters with iron sights, the marker is the same as the height of their head. The further the distance gets, the more difficult this is to gauge. So go ahead and experiment to get the feel of it. To help you better understand the interaction between distance, move speed, and bullet velocity, check out what these lead times look like. Here are several ranges shown on screen for weapons at various velocities. At 150, 200, 300, 400, 530, 600, 740, and finally the highest velocity in the game at 850, the Lebel with Spitzer ammo. If you want to get granular, you can figure out how many meters a bullet travels each frame. Take the bullet velocity and divide it by your frame rate. If you're playing at 60 frames per second and shooting the spark silencer at a 300 meter velocity, then divide 300 by 60 and find out that the bullet travels 5 meters per frame. Were you aware that bullet velocity can contribute to trades? Well, your ping is a bigger impact in this. Velocity is still a factor. As long as your opponent shoots before your bullet impacts them, they can trade. For example, let's say you're using a spark silencer ammo at 300 meter velocity. You are 100 meters from your target. If you shoot first, they have 1/3 of a second, or 20 frames at 60 frames per second, to shoot back and get the trade. If, on the other hand, you were using a Lebel with Spitzer ammo, they would only have 7 frames to return fire. The higher your velocity, the bigger your advantage. Just like the faster your connection, the less trade you'll have. In some games, guns have what's called bullet drop, where you have to adjust your aim vertically for how much the bullet drops while it travels. Most guns in Hunt don't have this. The exceptions are the bomb lance, crossbows, hand crossbows, hunting bows, and of course any throwables. If you're using these, be sure to factor drop into your aiming. Interestingly enough, the quad Derringer actually has a slower velocity than the crossbow or hunting bow, but still it has no bullet drop. Quiz time! Which of these has the fastest bullet velocity? The Vetterli with regular medium ammo, the Winfield Centennial with medium FMJ ammo, or the Martini Henry with standard long ammo? Believe it or not, the Centennial with FMJ is faster than both the Vetterli with its regular ammo and the Martini Henry with its long ammo. On top of that, both the Centennial and the Vetterli's standard ammo is faster than the Martini Henry's long ammo. If you're like me, that probably raises some questions in your head. Isn't FMJ supposed to be slow? And shouldn't long ammo be faster than medium ammo? When I started my research, I thought those were true too. This quirk between these three guns inspired me to dive into this topic. So let's address some velocity quirks. First, is ammo velocity connected to ammo type? Yes, kind of. Well, in general. Medium ammo is faster than compact ammo, and long ammo is usually faster than medium ammo. This is a general rule, but it's not universally true. Each ammo type spans a spectrum, especially if you include outliers. Check out my infographic if you want a visualization on this. The biggest outliers are the Centennial, Martini Henry, silencers, and high-velocity ammo. For some reason, the Centennial's standard ammo has a bullet velocity of 600, which is in line with most standard long ammos. It now fills a niche of being the highest speed medium ammo. The Vetterli can technically match it, but only when equipped with high velocity ammo. These two guns show us how much the design team values velocity. The Vetterli is $50 Hunt cheaper than the Centennial, but it is equal or better in every single area except for ammo capacity and velocity. To match the Centennial's velocity, you have to increase the base price by over 50% with high velocity ammo for $60 Hunt. Don't underestimate velocity. If you're not paying attention to it, it's easy to miss. Literally. The Martini Henry has a real-world inspiration of the same name. That real-world gun's muzzle velocity is the same as Hunt's at 400 meters, so its velocity is clearly an effort to being true to its inspiration. But this allows the Martini Henry to hold a unique place in Hunt's arsenal of being a slow, low-cost long ammo rifle. Special ammo also lets guns break the velocity trends. The main ones to pay attention to are FMJ, high velocity, and Spitzer ammo. FMJ and explosive ammo reduce bullet velocity by anywhere from 30 to 163 meters, so when using these, make sure to lead your shots a little bit more. In the inverse, high velocity ammo gives a significant increase to bullet velocity, in most cases bringing it near standard long ammo in the 500 to 610 range. Personally, high-velocity ammo's increased accuracy is almost always worth the price on rifles. This gives you the velocity of a long ammo rifle while keeping the fire rate of a compact or medium ammo rifle. It's great if you want to practice long ammo speeds but don't have deep pockets. Take a Winfield or a Vetterli with a marksman scope and high-velocity ammo, and you basically have a discount Lebel marksman. Just remember that high velocity doesn't extend the effective range, so longer shots may not have the impact you're hoping for. Spitzer ammo is the high velocity for long ammo rifles. It boasts a significant boost of velocity of around an additional 200. It has more penetration power, meaning you can go through more wood or sheets of metal. If you want more information on that, go check out Corm's analysis on penetration. The downside to Spitzer is that it puts the rifle's damage below the 125 mark. That means you won't be one-shotting hunters missing a small bar by hitting them in the chest. Headshots are now a lot more important. Getting those headshots will be a lot easier. Other ammo types don't have a significant impact on velocity. Incendiary and poison usually have no effect. Dum-Dum is typically only a slight negative reduction. In most cases, other than the nitro or the drilling, you won't be noticing it. The largest range of velocities in a single weapon is the Winfield 1873. The high velocity ammo clocks in at 600, and the FMJ comes in at almost half that at 330. That's a difference of 270 meters per second. So yes, long ammo is usually faster, but there are plenty of guns that can break that trend. Which silencer is the fastest with base ammo? If you guessed the Shorty, you'd be right. This one is a strange outlier. Yes, the Centennial's base form has a fantastic velocity, but you'd expect a 2-slot silent weapon to get a bigger punishment than that. At 390 meters per second, the Shorty silencer is the fastest silenced weapon. If you're including special ammo in the options, the fastest silenced weapon is the Winfield silencer. It jumps to the top at 450 meters per second. What can knowing about bullet velocity help you in a defensive fashion? Well, bushwookies with silencers and scopes are always lurking just out of sight. Your survival hinges on taking advantage of the moment between the trigger pull and the impact. This rests on one key concept: always keep moving. When you're between compounds, in a shootout, getting clues, or reviving a buddy, the goal is to move erratically so that by the time the bullet gets to you, you've moved out of the way. While exploring, make sure you're never running in straight lines, but move back and forth and left and right unpredictably. These erratic movements make it so the person aiming you down needs to guess your next move. If they can't line it up, they may even pass on taking the shot entirely. In a shootout, the same principle applies. The more you move, the harder you are to hit. Be careful not to only strafe left and right. If someone is flanking you, you won't be making yourself harder to hit to them. So be sure to mix it up by occasionally moving forward and backwards, and throwing the occasional crouch in there as well. When you're collecting a clue or reviving a downed teammate, you'll want to wiggle your head back and forth. This makes it so that your head swivels back and forth and is harder for a bullet to find. These movement tips will save you more often than you think. The best thing you can do with bullet velocity is make it irrelevant. To make that happen, check out this deep dive on distracting opponents with decoys. I really enjoyed making the velocity video. I feel like every time I step out and start working on these, it ends up being a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be and taking a lot more time. I think the velocity ammo video, or the velocity video, took me somewhere in the category of 60 hours to put together. It was a lot of fun, and it gave me some new challenges. This was the first time that I had drug friends into the shooting range to shoot clips, and now I keep trying to drag them around and do stuff for my exploits, and they are very tolerant of it. Anyways, let's see what people said. Quick thing you forgot to mention, when you shoot, you actually make the bullet velocity increase if you go into in-game chat and scream as loud as you can. Alright, there's your tip for new hunters. The biggest problem for me is that I like to change weapons frequently, and each has a different muzzle velocity, so it's harder to get a feel for each one quickly. So if you're trying to learn this thing about leading targets and actually hitting stuff, I find that it's much more valuable to pick a velocity range and play in that velocity range for a consistent period of time. Challenge yourself to get 100 kills at either 400 or 600 meters velocity speed, meters per second. Yes. Because then you're going to get used to how far you need to lead at that speed. And I would suggest 400, because not only is that the most gun condensed area where the most guns hit at that speed. I should pull up my infographic for this. Let me grab that infographic. So when you're looking at the guns available at the different velocity levels, so many guns play right in that 400 range. And so if you really want to get good at leading targets, practice a lot with guns that are going to hit in this 400 range. And then once you get a handle of that, once you can start shooting that consistently without thinking about it, then you can start either branch out above or below, and just adjust off of that base point. If you have a higher velocity, then you're going to start leading just a little bit more. But you want to teach your brain to see that leading target window as a reflex. One more tip about avoiding getting headshotted. Oh, let's see. If you look fully down at the ground, your character's head hitbox gets lowered by like 75% of your height. This can make low cover that would get you killed suddenly viable. So, yep, if you take your character and stare at the ground, they literally duck their head. So if you're just hiding and you're not, holding a position, that can be a good strategy. I've had several situations where, I did it. I don't know if that's what kept me alive, but it definitely makes you less vulnerable. The Shoeless Bandit says, I've previously done some research in comparing weapon velocity and compared them to real-life counterparts, and they're pretty close to 1-to-1 when disregarding the custom ammo. The silenced weapons have such a slow velocity because the bullet has to travel below the speed of sound to prevent a sonic boom. So this hits on 2 points. First of all, I love this game's attention to detail in how they try and mirror sort of the way real life works, where like the Martini Henry in real life has a 400 muzzle velocity speed, as does the one in the game, let alone all the weapons designs and just kind of the whole feel of everything feels like it's supposed to belong in the real world. When I was doing some movement speed testing, even the movement speed was within a reasonable understanding a range for someone who's fit and active, and well, like our hunters are on steroids. But the other thing this addresses is silenced weapons. I have a beef with silenced weapons in the game. With high velocity ammo, there are several of them that break the sound barrier, which I forget the exact number. So it's about 343 meters, and a lot of the silenced weapons, or all the silenced weapons that can have high velocity, break that number. In my opinion, those silenced weapons should probably be a lot louder than they are. And you're still getting the advantage of reducing the muzzle flash, but I feel like if a silenced weapon exceeds that 343 meters per second, that it should be a louder gunshot. I think the Centennial Shorty's default is faster than that, and then anything with high velocity ruins that as well. That's my biggest beef around how the game ignores the realism element. Because it's clear in their design decisions that they seem to be trying to keep it consistent to the world. Here's something I didn't mention, thanks to Micromation. When mentioning the high velocity on silenced weapons, you should have mentioned the drawback of having a muzzle flash compared to other ammo types. Silenced weapons which have no muzzle flash. High velocity ammo on the silenced weapons will have a little bit of a flash. I didn't show that. I definitely should have. That's a good thing to call out. So just be aware, if you're stealthing with a silencer and you have high velocity, you're going to be less hidden when you shoot. Kind of like incendiary, just not bad. Just not as bad because the incendiary rounds have that tracer orange streak. I would like to add that the only thing more important than the velocity is being familiar with that velocity. So if you want to get those sick headshots, more often stick to the same guns, like at the 600 meters range, of which there are lots to choose from. Yep, so he just was mimicking that same advice. If you pick a range to stick to, you're going to get much better at leading your shots. Just remember, bringing special ammo is a risk if you miss your shots often. Harder to find special ammo than normal ammo, as new players don't double up on special ammo, or you may have ammo finding problems. I find this especially important when you take guns with a lower ammo capacity. You know, for example, if you take the Winfield with high velocity, you have such a large ammo reserve, and when you do find a special ammo box, I think you get like 8 back or something from compact ammo. I don't remember the exact number. But you're getting so much more back, you're going to have a lot less ammo problems on something like a Winfield than if you bring the Centennial. And then obviously if you're shooting long ammo, you're going to be much, much more strict on your ammo. So keep that in mind. If you're a bad shot, make sure you bring something that has a higher ammo capacity. Yeah, and so Jumble Stiltskin, great name, Jumble Stiltskin, a good video, interesting at least. I love that backhanded, almost a compliment. A good video, interesting at least. I think despite all said and done, players have to use guns to get a natural feel for the distance to lead. Yes, you're not pulling your protractors out in the middle of a match. It's all about getting that feed. Throwing a crouch while dodging is really good advice. I've seen 6 stars do this to me. It's so incredibly frustrating when you're like, that's it, that's going to be a headshot, and then they duck at the last second to avoid it. I've tried to do it, but never successfully. Here's a fun one. For those of you who wonder what determines a bullet's velocity in real life, it's the weight of the bullet and the propellant and the size and composition. So in other words, how much and what type of gunpowder you have, and the length of the barrel. And I believe whether or not the barrel has rifling would play a factor in that as well. There's a noticeable jump in technology that is present in Hunt. But it is not mentioned. The transition from black powder weapons to smokeless powder, and from large diameter bullets to small bore ones. Smokeless powder doesn't just produce little smoke, as opposed to black powder, which produces a lot. It also doesn't foul up the barrel as well. But in addition, it's also far more powerful. Muzzle velocity is significantly higher on smokeless powder weapons. Examples of Hunt would be the Lebel, the very first smokeless powder weapon, Mosin Nagant, Springfield Craig Jorgensen, the Berthier, the Bornheim, and the Dulce. So, for example, why is the Martini Henry and the why is something like the Martini Henry, which is a long ammo rifle, long ammo single shot rifle, have such a slow muzzle velocity of 400? Well, in the real world, it was using black powder, whereas when we started using some of the other long ammo rifles, we had discovered smokeless powder, which was more potent. All of these use small bore bullets, but also have a significantly larger cartridges. For example, the Vetterli rifle used a 10.4 by 38 millimeter R MMR, 10.4 being the bullet diameter and 38 being the length of the cartridge in total. The Lebel uses an 850 MMR cartridge. Not only is the bullet lighter, but it uses more and better propellant. Anton, silenced weapons would require them to tweak the sound design in-game. The way I understand how sound suppression works is that it makes a cone sound wave, meaning people in front of you would hear you better than those that are behind and on the side. Really? I did not know that. That is interesting. I love running across different things about how the game works behind the scenes. Anton, velocity is also affected by the shape of the projectile musket, a round ball or a modern Spitzer. Rifling is only important for tanks as it creates counter rotation when penetrating armor, so most of them are smoothbore. Interesting. Thank you. I would say for reviving, face the opposite direction of where your buddy got shot and keep your head down so you can't get headshot. Worked for me so many times, and I've seen people wiggle their head, and I was just able to hit them in the head once, as shown. Okay, so in the video, I recommend wiggling your head around when you're doing a revive. But he says if you know where the shooter's coming from, it might be better just to point your head down, like the previous comment mentioned, and do the revive that way. And here we go. Actually, on this video, I got a lot of comments of this sort. This is great research and info. Unfortunately, you can't account for Hunt's netcode and server issues. Trying all those shots with various latencies feels random. My average is 32 milliseconds. So when you talk about latency and leading your target, it doesn't change the fact that the target you're shooting at is still moving. At worst, let's say you had ridiculous ping and someone was moving a full half second in the past. They may be moving in the past, but they're still moving, and it's client-side hit registry. So as long as you see where they are when you shoot them, pending a server validation check, which we're not getting into right now, pending a server validation check, if you shoot someone on your screen, you're gonna hit them. And so even if there's some latencies on one side or the other, the fact that you see someone running, you're still gonna need to lead your shot. And so, yes, there is some interaction with lag, but it doesn't change how you need to lead your targets. All right, forgot to mention broken hit registration, where bullets just decide they aren't hitting it. Game is incredibly inconsistent with registration, server desyncs, and instability. Make the game so bad at times. I've had a plethora of games where bullets hit, show blood, and get no hit marker. First of all, we're playing games over the internet. It's a miracle that it even works. And so when you talk about the inconsistency of the hit registry of the game and playing on the internet, I get it. It sucks. But I'm glad it works. I think they know about this. I don't think they've said a lot about it. I'm assuming they're going to be trying to fix a lot of that when they do the platform migration or the engine upgrade. And so I'm reserving comments until we get to there because I don't see any good about complaining it because they know the community is upset about it. I assume it's going to it's going to take a certain level of effort that they're not looking to put in at this stage when they're already planning the server the engine migration. And so I'm thinking that's going to be part of that process. I think we're running out of the good comments on this video, so I think we're going to click over to the next. Fanning in Hunt Showdown takes a pistol that goes pew 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 and makes it go. This trait checks both of the most important boxes, fun and useful. It's an easy way to make any pistol a deadly machine gun. If you stick around here, you'll learn how to choose the right pistol for you and what custom ammo makes sense for your playstyle. You'll leverage techniques to improve fanning accuracy and close the fight. First off, what is fanning? Fanning is the most cowboy thing you can do with a revolver. It's where you hold down the trigger on a revolver and pull back and release the hammer with your other hand. You've probably seen this in cowboy films, like Clint Eastwood in Fistful of Dollars. The trait costs 8 points and unlocks at Bloodline rank 13. A slow shooting pistol like this becomes a beast like this. To use it, when you have the trait equipped, pull out a single action pistol and hip fire it. You can actually hold the button down. You don't need to click for every time you want to fire. You can only do this while holding a single action revolver, which probably means nothing to most of you as it did to me before Hunt. There are two kinds of revolvers in Hunt, single action and double action. In order for a revolver to fire, two things need to happen. First, the hammer must be prepped and pulled back. And secondly, that hammer needs to be released so it can impact the bullet and cause it to fire. Each of these two things are considered an action. If pulling the trigger only does one of these things, that is, release the hammer, then it's considered a single action pistol. If pulling the trigger also pulls back the hammer and releases the hammer, then you have a double action revolver. These can't be fanned in Hunt, although in the real world, you can actually fan either style of pistol. The vast majority of revolvers in-game are single action. The only double action pistols are the Cadwell New Army and the Nagant Officer. Just remember to avoid these when you have the fanning trait. And for clarity, semi-automatic pistols like the Dolch and the Borheim don't work for this either. For the steep price of 8 trait points, why might you want to take fanning? Well, the most obvious benefit is to greatly increase your effectiveness in close quarters combat with. That rapid spray of bullets makes it hard for anyone to get the best of you within 15 meters. Assuming you can aim, you're only slightly outclassed by shotguns. And some players really like fanning for the extra benefit it brings when paired with certain special ammos. For example, poison ammo lets you melt bosses' health away. Or, if you plan on doing a lot of wall banging, FMJ is really nice to make sure you're going to be able to get through whatever you want. Well, you can take the spray and pray approach. That's not always the most effective. Even with all those bullets flying, sometimes it's more effective to actually aim. Keep these things in mind while fanning: spread, recoil, and control. Each pistol has a different spread indicated by its crosshairs. Some weapons, like the base Cadwell conversion pistol, have an extremely tight spread, and others, like the Cadwell conversion chain pistol, have an extremely wide spread. While a shot can technically fall anywhere within this pattern, it tends to favor being near the center, so accuracy isn't quite equally distributed across the crosshairs area. This means that even if you rely on spray and pray, aiming is still important. Even if a hunter is within the crosshairs, you're less likely to hit them if they're not centered. Take note that your spread changes based on if you're moving or not. If you stop moving momentarily, the crosshairs become tighter, reducing the spread of your shots. The trade-off is that standing still, even for a moment, could be a death sentence. Do this at your own discretion. Take note that unlike normal hip firing, crouching does not improve your accuracy while fanning. So there's no need to take that movement penalty, because it's not really helping you. Each pistol and ammo type recoils in a different way. Compact ammo revolvers have very little recoil. But if you fan an uppercut, you'll end up looking at the sky by the time it's empty. The amount of recoil seems to be the most for the first shot and levels out after that. The direction of the recoil has some randomness to it. It always throws your aim upwards, but sometimes it's a little to the right and sometimes it's a little to the left. So while holding that trigger down, make sure you pay attention so you can compensate accordingly. With most guns, the first 2 or 3 shots are going to be consistently more accurate or at least easier to control. Consider practicing doing short controlled bursts to better manage your shots. It can also create opportunities to potentially down 2 people without taking the time to reload. This is up to you to read the situation. The first shot in a fan is the most accurate. In some situations, it may even make the most sense to fire single shots, like maybe with something like the uppercut. That way, you get the benefit of firing faster than aiming down sights, but you're sacrificing less accuracy to do it. Picking the right gun is important to getting the most out of fanning. There are a few things to consider. In addition to the recoil and spread, you should consider the fire rate, damage, ammo types, and other perks available. Some pistols consistently take out a hunter with just 2 shots. The Nagant has the lowest damage. A hunter with full health has 150 HP. With the Nagant, an upper chest shot does 91 damage, and an arm only does 56. So if you hit an arm, you're going to need a 3rd shot to finish the job. Likewise, the lower chest only does 70 damage, so you would need 3 lower chest shots to seal the deal. In contrast, the Cadwell Pax has the highest pistol damage other than the uppercut. Its lower chest shot damage is 85, which is high enough that an arm shot at 68 damage can finish off the fight. So picking one of the higher damage pistols could mean that you're going to need to land less shots to finish the job. Finally, consider the fire rate. A slower shot speed gives your opponent extra time to evade, move, or shoot back. So getting all your shots in quickly is important. Something like the base Cadwell conversion has an extremely fast fire rate compared to something like the Lamat or uppercut. So there's less room for error between shots. My community completed a series of surveys for a tournament to find out which was the best gun for fanning. Users shared a lot of thoughts on their preferences. If you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe so you're notified when it comes out. You may want to spice up your fanning with custom ammo types. What should you consider when you pick up an ammo type? First of all, ammo count. most pistols come with enough ammo to fan the full chamber at least 3 times. This should be more than enough for most games, and if you've made it that far that you actually run out of ammo, it's likely there are some lootable hunters who would gladly give you their leftover pistol. To prevent running into ammo limitations, I try and make sure that the pistol I use for fanning has a different ammo type than my main weapon. If I'm bringing the same size of ammo, I make sure that I have a custom ammo on one if not both of them. Now, which custom ammo to bring depends on what you're looking to accomplish. The 3 that stand out are FMJ, Dum Dum, and Poison. FMJ is great if you like to wallbang. After polling the community, this was by far the preferred ammo type for fanning. It gives you more confidence that you'll penetrate whatever you're shooting through. It's especially fun with the Cadwell chain pistol, to blanket fire through a wall till you hit your target. Dum Dum ammo's bleed gives each pistol a little more killing power. This sometimes results in you needing one less shot to finish a hunter, or applying a bunch of extra pressure because they're bleeding without much health left. If you're using the packs with Dum Dum and get 2 arm hits at 68 damage each, your target only has 24 HP left. With intense bleeding, they have about 5 seconds to either start their healing or lose the fight. That's a significant amount of pressure, and some players may feel that it's worth losing your ability to wallbang. Poison ammo is mostly used just for AI. If you're taking this, you're probably using the silenced Nagant. It can down armors in 2 shots, grunts in 1, immolators in 1, and silently shred bosses. But it doesn't really give you anything meaningful for PvP situations, so take it with that in mind. Some guns have unique properties that may complement fanning well, like a melee attachment, a swift reload, or extra bullet capacity. The melee attachment can provide you with a great plan B if you happen to whiff everything in your chamber and need to run in to finish the job. Personally, I love the Scotfield Swift's quick reload. It lets you do a very quick reload at the cost of dumping any unused bullets that you have in your chamber. It's a great way to avoid being left vulnerable after your first round of fanning. Then, there are some guns with extra capacity, most notably the Cadwell Conversion Chain Pistol. It holds 18 bullets, and the Lamat holds 9, at the cost of some compromises to the fire rate or accuracy. These let you throw lead down the range for longer, trying to force RNG in your favor. You know, the whole quantity over quality thing. Try out the different guns and get a feel for the advantages and disadvantages in each. The community holds the base Cadwell Conversion Pistol in high regard, but you should play around with the other guns to feel what fits your loadout and playstyle. Personally, the Scotfield Swift is my favorite for its high accuracy and quick reload. Consider taking some time in the shooting range to find what pistol is your favorite. You can find them all lined up here in this area. You can grab the fanning trait and practice with each one. If you find a favorite, take some time practicing its recoil. A great spot for practicing this is over by the consumables. Stand here, facing that wall. Use the smaller brick here as your target. Then, when you empty your chamber, you have bullet holes in the wall marking where your shots were. This is a great way to get a feel and understanding of which guns are going to be more accurate and how you're controlling their recoil. Then, when you're ready, you can turn around and use the dummies here for some target practice. They're in the perfect range for practicing fanning at about 10 to 15 meters in range. Fanning is great at close quarters, but if a hunter is further away, you'll have to know how to lead your target. Click this video to learn everything you need to know about bullet velocity and how to hit your shots. I have an infographic here. We'll show the infographic. We'll show it. Because we're moving on to the fanning video, so it's a great time to show my fanning infographic that I haven't finished making. Right now, I get very distracted with one project to the next. I have about 3 videos in half production. All right. So some of you may know, I was putting out tons of fanning surveys. For about a month, I was doing a fanning survey about every other day. And about 2 weeks into it, people started to complain about all the fanning surveys. But there was a mission for all the madness. And this was the goal. And so, you know, if you want to shortcut it, the Cadwell Conversion Pistol was declared by far to be the community's favorite on the best pistol for fanning. I do want to see what people say when they compare the Cadwell to the PAX True Shot. I think it might have a chance. Ninja, True Shot is great. I think original PAX could be cheaper. I can agree with that. It's a new way to play without much controversy. I love it. The True Shot is the best budget option for shotgun user. Also very good if you want to dual wield or fanning revolvers, as it has the best hipfire accuracy among the revolvers. I think it costs like $120. It's a great option for people who would otherwise take an uppercut with a shotgun but doesn't want to drop down the $400. And so, yep, I think the True Shot was a solid win all around. All right, where were we? Oh yeah. So going down to here. So I listed each gun with all of its variants, and so really the Cadwell should have had, or the Cadwell pack should have had the True Shot on this, which I have no doubt would have at least gotten to here. I don't know if it would have beaten the Scotfield Swift, but I'm at the very least going to run a survey asking if people prefer the Cadwell conversion pistol or the True Shot. So, what about you guys? Would you pick for fanning specifically the Cadwell conversion pistol or the PAX True Shot? All right, for fanning, there was some good stuff in here. Here we go. You talk about the potential benefits of slow or even single fire. A trick I sometimes employ is firing the first shot from the hip and then aiming down sights for a follow-up. This takes advantage of the most accurate shot first. Or sorry, the most accurate first shot, because in fanning, the first shot of the fan is always the most accurate. And then you automatically get the fast cycling time to get the next bullet ready. But for the second shot, you can aim down sights and actually aim your shot. And so that's a good thing to keep in mind, is fan for the first hit. Then as soon as you get that hit, you can switch to aiming down sights to manually finish the deed. And so if you're a good shot, which I'm not as good of a shot as I'd like to be, you don't need to rely on luck for that second hit. A note about weapon spread: while the crosshairs are a good visualizer, it's not perfect, and on some guns, they just don't line up. That's true. There have been a couple videos demonstrating shotguns in particular to be have a notoriously smaller true hit zone than the crosshairs indicate. But if you do, I think it's the same with dualies, but I know with fanning, if you pay attention with fanning, your shots are usually actually a lot tighter than the crosshairs indicate. There's still a chance they can hit at the edge in fanning, but it's like 1 in 6 or something. If you do a full fan, you'll know there's 1 or 2 go out to the edge, and most of them stay pretty center. Talking about PvE with poison bullets. You can kill armored with 1 shot to the head. Okay, so with armoreds, actually, it's, I found out in the video I say it takes 2 shots to kill an armored with poison bullets. What it actually is it's 1 shot any place that isn't armored. Because if you notice on the armor, with the metal plates all over, I suppose they're organic plates all over them, there are some gaps in there, and if you shoot in those gaps, your attacks are going to do more damage. And so in this case, you can one-shot them with poison ammo if you shoot in the gap. You can kill immolators silently with 1 shot up to 30 meters. I wonder if that depends on your weapon type. Oh, I'm doing the thing where I'm too high on the screen again. There we go. You can kill water devils with 1 shot without them screaming. And with fanning, taking down meatheads also goes rather quick. I think 10 bullets do the trick. Depends on the bullet on the gun. I think I tested, this isn't fanning, but with the Centennial Shorty and poison ammo, I think it was 7 shots to down a meathead. Also, fun fact with the meatheads, they have hit zones like hunters do. So if you aim at the upper torso, the chest of the meathead, mostly where the leeches are coming out, that's not the actual boundary, but that's a good visual, your attacks are actually going to do more damage. So if you're taking one out with a bow or something, aim for the upper torso. And it was an instance of bad math, so I'm just going to show it on the actual video. And it was talking about dum-dum ammo and damage. Check my math on this one. I'll play this bit, and then I'll correct myself. We're talking about dum-dum ammo and how it can potentially give you a quicker kill.
Or applying a bunch of extra pressure because they're bleeding without much health left. If you're using the packs with Dum Dum and get 2 arm hits at 68 damage each, your target only has 24 HP left. With intense bleeding, they have about 5 seconds to either start their healing or lose the fight.
Alright, let's do the math on that one. We're doing 68 damage. 68 plus 68
equals 136. So we had 136. So a hunter has 150 health minus 136. For those of you following along at home, 2 arm hits with the packs leaves a hunter with 14 health, which if you have dum-dum ammo, that is less than 3 seconds for them to stop that bleeding. And so if you're fanning with the packs, I think you should take dum-dum. If you're fanning with the Scotfield. If you're fanning with the Scotfield, I think you should take FMJ. If you're fanning with the Cadwell conversion, your choice, but probably FMJ. But if you're fanning with the packs, you should definitely be taking advantage of the extra damage and be putting on the dum-dum. That way, no matter where you hit, as long as 2 bullets touch their body, they're probably gonna die. Because, again, 3 seconds is not much time in a firefight. That was kind of the big correction I wanted to get out there. Penetration for fanning can be very beneficial. And so that's kind of what you ask, what kind of fanning do you want to do? Like, in most cases, you're not going to do your fans through a wall. It will happen. It's not going to be 90% of cases. And so it depends on your preference. But if you're taking the packs for fanning, like, you're leaning on that additional damage. And in my opinion, I think the dum-dum is going to provide more situations where it brings you an extra win than the FMJ does. That, of course, depends what's on your other gun. Do you have something else that can shoot through a wall on your other gun and whatnot? But that's just something to be aware of. It's literally, they have 14 health with 2 arm hits, and they're going to be bleeding intensely, which does 6 damage a tick. So they have 3 ticks until they die. We had a lot of LeMat lovers. My biggest problem with the LeMat is it just, for compact ammo, it seems to be shooting slow. And I don't see why I would want that over something like the Cadwell conversion. And if I'm doing something with a slower fire rate, then I'd rather pop up to a medium ammo. I know some people really like the LeMat, and so if you like the LeMat, you like the LeMat, and that's why you're taking it. But I don't feel like the extra ammo it gives you is worth your other options. If you want the extra ammo for fanning, then you should probably go for the chain pistol. That's my 2 cents. You're welcome to love the LeMat. You know, and that's the other thing is, a lot of the advice I provide is I try to remain in my actual deep dives as objective as I can. And so those are always going to be directed to where I'm trying to say, hey, these things are true about the game. Whether or not you use them is up to you. Whether or not there's a better way is up to you. I think a good example is the grunt video I just put out, which this one here, Easy Prestige Experience. And it's talking about how you can set up grunts so you can melee them and kill them with any weapon. I had a number of comments on there, which we'll touch in a minute, where people are saying, hey, there's a better way to get experience for your weapon. And it's like, I get that, but I can't always kill a boss with my pistol when I'm on a team of 3 and we're trying to rush down the boss. And so in a lot of cases, I want to provide useful information and maybe some situations where something could be a benefit, but I don't always intend it as this is the best and the only way for something to happen. And so, you know, when I say I don't like the mat, I don't see a reason to use it. That's preference. That's why I don't say that in the deep dive. And so I try and be clear of, hey, this is an opinion piece versus, hey, this is true. Penetration for fanning can be beneficial too. Yes, it is. But it's all about, as Micro says, preferences and location, worth considering how many compounds make penetration essentially useless. It all depends on your playstyle too. Like, some of the guys I play with don't do wall bangs very often. A couple of them do them all the time, but a couple of them don't do it very often. So think about your playstyle. I like to aim down sights with the LeMat. Good pen on fanning can be very useful versus shotguns when you know they're coming around the corner and you can get an edge on them before they get one. Anton, if I know I am up against shotgun users, I prefer the LeMat, even if I have fanning, as I have the fastest way to kill with one-shot potential with an underbarrel shotgun. Oh, you didn't mention anything about smoke obscuring vision during fanning. I think that's an important factor. When you shoot, you get smoke in front of you and it's hard to see. So if you're doing stuff with a longer chamber, you're going to have a big cloud of smoke that's hard to see.
Let's see. Oh, a lot of people got mad at my statement about poison ammo. So in the video, it's in custom ammo. This clearly was the most controversial section. Okay, so I said this. Again, we're almost there. But it doesn't really give you anything meaningful for PvP situations. So take it with that in mind. All right, so I said poison ammo doesn't give you anything meaningful in PvP situations. I could have been more gentle in how I worded that, but in my opinion, I don't think in the context of fanning, poison gives you an advantage that is greater than other custom ammos. Your goal with fanning is to kill as quick as possible. Your goal with a sparks is to hit them and do 1 damage follow-up. And so sparks on a poison, poison on a sparks makes absolute perfect sense, because you get that 1 shot and then you do 1 damage of follow-up and you win the fight. But with fanning, your goal is already to kill them as fast as possible, so they don't get a chance to run for cover. FMJ is going to let you shoot through walls, and Dum Dum is going to add that bleed to make an easier time to kill. And yes, their screen goes green, but if you're winning the fanning anyways, poison doesn't help you win that better. It gives you a decent follow-up opportunity. Ninja says situation advantages with poison. Yes, and there are situations that I can't think of a situation where I'd rather have someone that's hit and poisoned than someone who's hit and bleeding. I realize there are other advantages to poison ammo, but I'm saying if you're taking your custom ammo for PvP situations, the other custom ammos do more good for you. But I had like 4 comments on that saying poison does stuff in a PvP situation. It's like, no, keep that on your rifles and your silenced pistols. Yeah, I think we're going to call that quits for this video. All right, everything you should know about grunts. Do you ever get tired of the prestige grind for unlocks? Well, would you believe that grunts are the key to accelerating that? Stick around and find out why. You'll find grunts in several varieties throughout the bayou. Base, cleaver, torch, miner, lantern, pistol, and doctor grunts. The base grunts are slow and easy to dispatch. If they hear you or get hit by something, they'll get aggressive and start searching the area to find you. Once they see you, they run in your direction and attack you when they're close enough. You do run faster than them, even when you're exhausted without stamina. So, if you're in a hurry, you can just ignore them, and they'll make a nice line behind you. Just remember, you'll have to deal with them once you slow down. There are sleeping grunts on the map. These sleeping grunts lay down and are harder to spot. They'll stand up and start looking for nearby hunters if they hear any sound. These blend in with the bodies laying around the bayou, but with a sharp eye you can spot them in advance. They stand out from the environment just enough to distinguish them from the ones that don't get up. This lets you take them out before they get a chance to stand up and attack you. There are a variety of ways to handle grunts. The easiest way to deal with them is your tools. Simply give them a strong attack to the noggin with the tool of your choice, like dusters, your knuckle knife, or knife. If you prefer a stealthier approach, you can use throwing axes or throwing knives. Melee attacks are effective, but noisy. When you throw an axe or a knife, your hunter doesn't make the loud yell that normally comes with an attack. Both these throwing weapons take a grunt out with a shot to the torso or the head. With the throwing axe, if you hit them in the arm, you're not going to kill them immediately, but you can run up and pull out the axe and that'll finish the job. Unfortunately, throwing knives are going to require a little more damage, so you'll either need to do an additional melee attack or throw another knife at them. Another way you can take them out is to leverage special ammo. Both poison and incendiary ammo can take them out in a single body shot. They yell when set on fire, so you probably don't want to do that if you have incendiary and a silenced weapon. You can also use your weapons. If you're in the middle of a prestige, I recommend this option. This is a great way to speed up unlocking weapon variants and ammo types. Each grunt is only a little experience, but it adds up quickly. Each long ammo variant takes 900 experience to unlock. At 20 XP a pop, that's only 45 grunts. And at 10 to 20 grunts in a match, That's an additional unlock for the experiences from Grunts alone in about every 3 to 5 games. That alone is a noticeable chunk of experience, but once you start adding in experience from immolators, hives, and armoreds when possible, your unlock rate is really going to speed up. If you don't have a weapon attachment, but have a 3-slot weapon, the best way is to off them with a light melee followed by a heavy. This lets you take care of 3 grunts in a row with 1 bar of stamina. Just be careful of leaving yourself out of stamina in a bad situation. Better yet, you can use any of the basic melee tools to prep a grunt so the XP can go to the weapon of your choice, like a pistol. For the knife and knuckle knife, it takes a light attack to the head first. Dusters, a heavy attack to the upper torso. And the heavy knife, you need to lead with a heavy attack to the legs. Then follow any of these up with a strong attack to the head using any weapon of your choice. And there you go, easy unlocks for any weapon. These educational videos take a substantial amount of time and effort to put together. If they bring you value, please like, subscribe, and share. Now, for some reason, Hunt allows you to injure grunts. I can't remember a single time where this had a meaningful impact on a match, but it does exist. If you damage the leg of a grunt, they can no longer run and are limited to a slower shamble. When the arm takes damage, if they're carrying a tool, they're going to drop it. Oh, that's right. Grunts? They can carry items. Each variation of a grunt has a different item with a unique effect. I mentioned these earlier, but these variations are a torch grunt, which as the name implies is holding a torch. While they're still standing, they attack you with the torch they're carrying. The first hit does a bit of fire damage, charring your health, but if you let them hit you again, you'll light on fire. Be careful because when they drop their torch, it ignites whatever it hits. Mainly, just keep an eye out for oil slicks and barrels. Lantern grunts. These grunts carry lanterns around. If one manages to hit you, the lantern explodes, doing significant fire damage and igniting you. When you kill one of these before they hit you, they drop the lantern on the ground. You can then pick it up and use it, either throw it as part of a fight or burn a downed hunter. Take a mental note whenever you down one of these, so you can double back and use the lantern if needed. Minor grunt, the third type of grunt that sets you on fire. This one has a helmet with a light on. If you hit its head, that light explodes. It ignites anything flammable in the area, including you, other AI, oil, and of course, worst of all, barrels. Cleaver grunts are probably the most common variation you'll see. When they hit you, their attacks make you bleed. Some grunts carry pistols. These pistol grunts aren't quite sure how to use them. They just club you over the head with it, and then the gun goes off, but it doesn't do any extra damage or effects. All that happens is it makes that gunshot noise, alerting nearby hunters of your location. Finally, we have a helpful one, the Doctor Grunt. 2 things to make him stand out. One to stop healing, and the other to enable it. They don't exactly uphold their pledge of do no harm. Their weapon is a rusty medical saw. When they attack you, it deals damage and poisons you. Secondly is the more useful element. If you down them, they drop a medkit. So, always take a mental note when you down a Doctor Grunt. That extra medkit comes in clutch from time to time. Even though grunts are weak and predictable, if they catch you off guard in a gunfight, they could cause you to lose that fight. Now, if you're looking for an edge to win in those gunfights, I recommend you check out this deep dive on fanning. Easy prestige experience. This one dropped yesterday. So, I have complaints hot off the press. I had a lot of kind words. You guys are encouraging, and I love the engagement you give me. And I don't mind the corrections. I don't mind the altering opinions. That's how I learn and grow, especially because a lot of you are a lot more experienced than I am. A lot of you have double, triple, or quadruple my playtime in the game. So give me your perspectives. So kite Dr. Grunts into the boss lair for additional healing. So I have a lot of comments on here or things that I should have said that I didn't say. One of my biggest challenges when I'm doing writing for this stuff is trying to watch out for scope creep. Because it's very easy to want to say everything you could ever want to know and every possible strategy that exists. And a lot of times I choose to just stop finding new things to say about something because it's just going to bloat the video anyways. And my goal is anyone who has less than 100 hours in the game, I want them to learn something about it. Realistically, the way Hunt is, I try and have some nuggets in there that anyone of any experience could have. But truly, less than 100 hours is probably my target audience if we're talking about, strategy. And so I don't want to overwhelm people with every possible way they could go about stuff. And so you have a lot of great additions people say of, oh, you should have said this or you should have said that. And some of it's I've thought of and a lot of I haven't. But part of that is because I want to stay to the core essentials of the message. And otherwise, like, these videos are never going to get produced. I think I rewrote the section about melee tools on this one 3 different times because I needed to double check if I had the right type of tack on one of the weapons or whatnot. And that added substantially to the time it took me to produce this. Just to note, oh, there are a couple of fun ones on here I like. Just note, lantern grunts don't always have the lanterns lit. So sometimes they hit you and create oil. And you guys can use it to your advantage. So, I thought I'd been hit by lantern grunts before without it exploding, but I couldn't repeat it while I was doing my testing. So I'm glad he did. So there are some grunts that have lanterns that aren't lit, and when they hit you, they leave an oil slick under you rather than lighting you on fire. I think that's fun. A very good tip is luring doctor grunts into a boss lair or somewhere where you think you're going to need them. It was also noted that Scrapbeak's lair can have doctor grunts. And so if you are in a Scrapbeak lair, keep an eye out for a doctor grunt. It's not going to have other healing options around there, because Scrapbeak makes sure there's no tools or consumables in the area. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, with throwing axes and throwing knives. I didn't know this. If you hit the head, they're quieter than if you hit their body. If you hit their body, the grunts let out a moan. You hit their head, they're silent. Same thing goes with incendiary ammo. If you shoot a grunt's body with incendiary ammo, they light on fire and scream for a while, but if you shoot the head, they don't stand there and scream. And so that was a correction to something I said in the video. Great video, but here's one tip for everyone. Run big stamina. Run big stamina or run a weapon with a good attachment. I swear the bounty hunt and trials grunt behaviors are different. That would be a weird thing to test. I mean, could be. I know they have special rules for some of those. The grunt AI injury is useful. See my comment on your video. Oh boy. Yeah, and that's the thing, is there is so much in this game. I don't have the gameplay time a lot of other content creators do, but I like digging into the details, and I'm going to walk around and test stuff. And so that's what you're getting from me, is my goal is to produce as much objective information as I can. And so sometimes it's firsthand, sometimes it's secondhand, but my goal is to accelerate that onboarding process. Because I did a poll to my community asking how many hours until you no longer felt like a new player, and I think the average, I think the 50% mark was between 500 and 1,000 hours, which is just insane. Some people said over 1,000, but I love that this game has so much depth to it that you essentially never feel like you're an expert at the game, unless you're Ratcha. This video only included my deep dive videos. I also have some match analysis with mindset-focused commentary. If that sounds useful, click this one and learn about how to better use your consumables.